start that story over about your first pair of shoes.
Well, this old fella, he came.
I'm sorry. Go ahead now.
He'd come, you know, and he'd make ties in the winter. Dad had him come, he'd make ties. We hauled them over to Hutton Valley on the Current River, or on the main line of Frisco. And I had to do the scoring. You get up on, you cut your tie, the length, 8 feet, then you block it up on 2 other logs, or 2 tie cuts, and you mark it off 6 inches this way. And the other way, it was hewn 4 sides, but it's just 6 inches thick. 6 or 8, I've forgotten. But the score, now you stood up on this log, stood up there with your chopping axe, and you chopped along like that, and you'd flick those out all the time. But you didn't go clear into your mark. You get close to it so you could finish up with a broadaxe. And I was a score man, and I hip cut the timber with a crosscut saw. And then when we get the timber down, why, I'd go to scoring and he'd go to hewing. And I got fooling around. He used a 10-pound broadaxe. That was a little too much for me. I was only about 14 years old. But I was a good axeman for a kid. Well, I'd do the scoring, and finally we get a hold of a cull piece, you know, run into it, maybe inside, and find out it had a little rotten place or something inside. Well, I'd just throw it away. Well, I'd catch a little time, I'd score it, measure it, and score it, and I got the bar in his axe while he'd rest. Best I could do with it, about all I could raise it up and let it fall. And I got doing that, and I thought it was a pretty good hewer. Well, my father bought me a 5-pound broadaxe. And old buddy said, well, you better take a cull stake to start with. Then you won't ruin a good stake. Well, I did. I marked her off, scored it, and when I got done, he commenced laughing. He says, look at your bottom. I'd hewed under. It's only about that wide on the bottom. Well, I kept trying it. Finally, I could make as pretty a tie as anybody. Father took a whole load of ties in that I'd made. He was telling the fellow there, the merchant that bought the ties, who made them. Of course, I was well acquainted with him. He didn't give me a call. So I bought me a pair of Congress gators. I don't know whether you ever seen them or not. They just made flat something like fish shoes, but they had a rubber that run up about this far on them. It was just a cloth, you know, with rubber in, and that's what they call gators. Oh boy, you joke, I was really stepping. Because I'd had to wear boots on account of this crippled leg. See, they made my brace in a blacksmith shop. I don't know whether you ever noticed on top of a wagon bed, there's a little thin piece of steel that runs all along on top. That to keep it from being split or scarred. And he took a piece of that, just drawed it up on the ends, welded. And those old Brogan shoes, they weren't lined. They just common old leather. They weren't lined at all. And this foot, at that time, I turned it over like this. It was in that shape, and I threw it. Of course, I dragged it on the ground, and I get a new pair of shoes. In about a week, 10 days, that whole side here was cut out. And that's what that brace was put on. Well, Mother, when they do like that, when I get one, of course, shoes only cost $1 a pair. But that dollar was pretty hard to get a hold of in them days. And Mother, she'd take a piece of red flannel, double it, wrap my toe, and then I had on knitted homemade socks. I'd just go wading the snow to school. I'd come in, and my foot wouldn't even be wet, wouldn't go through that other. But about the shoes, I'd cut out the whole side of a pair, and Dad went to town, he bought a new pair. And that was the second day I'd worn them, and I went hunting, snow on the ground. Well, that gum thing froze on my feet. They would. They'd freeze it. They'd freeze just stiff. They shut this whole big plant down Saturday afternoon for ball game. Shut everything down but the company store and the boiler rooms and things like that where they had to keep the steam up. But they just turned, everybody come to the ball game. Talk about a rabid bunch. They was sure, if you said anything about a ball player, if you was a stranger, you better start running. You can get mobbed. But I really had a good team.
Well, you worked at Cordz-Fisher in Birch Tree, and you worked at Fishertown, and you worked up here, and you saw the end of the mills after they all sawed out, and you lived here for a while. All told, would you say the mills were a good thing in this area, or were they bad? Were the mills a good thing for this county, or were they bad, do you think? You saw both sides of it. You saw before the mills, and you saw during the mills and after they were gone.
Well, yes. I didn't stay around them very long after they were gone, any of them. In fact, I left Birch Tree before they sold out. Father moved it. That was quite a long time before I was married. Well, it wasn't either, about 3 or 4 years. But he'd moved on down to Fishertown.
When you got in the photography business, how did you make money up here taking photographs?
Oh, I made good money.
How did that work, Glenn?
Well, I did all my own work, everything.
But would you go out of a day and take pictures? Or what?
Oh, yes, and lots of times I'd come in, if I was working at the mills or was on one of my own jobs. I'd come in at night. Lots of times I'd have orders there to come and do pictures, do photographing, because they knew I liked to work just a while before the sun, or just barely by the time the sun would go down, you know. I wanted to get that soft light, afterglow.
What would people want pictures taken of? What did they want when those orders? What were they for?
Oh, they were, lots of them were just like your family, or you had a young baby, or something of that kind. They wanted a picture of it. Those people back in those days were picture crazy. Now the postcards came on at that time, and I sold them 3 for a quarter, and I made 15 cents. Of course, that they usually ran a whole bunch of them, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen. They wanted to give them to their friends, And I'd make pictures. I'd see something that I knew would appeal to people, like a scenic view of some kind or something a little out of the ordinary. I'd make a picture of it, make it up into postcards. I hardly ever had one left.
Did you just go out and take pictures of
That's
people?
it. That's
How
it.
about of people? Did you just go out and take pictures of them? Or did you always have an order?
No, lots of times I'd start out, I wouldn't even have order. Time I'd get back in. Well, to give you an idea, I carried, my carrying case carried 6 plate holders. That's 12 plates. That was 12 unexposed plates. Well, I'd take my camera and just start out here, like here in West Eminence, just fooling around because people didn't have TVs, they didn't have automobiles. They just go gang together, and they had a big Sunday school and 2 or 3 lodges and things of that kind. And I just start out. Lots of times I'd have to go back and load the second time.